Hello everybody, so let's dig into this week's Menopause Matters Live and talk about the topic of hair loss. If you've got questions, pop them into the comments and I will answer them all after the live. So let's get started. So hair loss, if anybody has experienced it, is one of the scariest, most upsetting things that can happen to a woman. And speaking from personal experience, I know how upsetting it can be. I started to lose my hair back in July, August 21. And it happened a few months after the very sudden loss of my dad. And because I know that stress and trauma can trigger it, I knew exactly what it was. And I knew what to do, and eventually it stopped and started to reverse and my hair started to grow back. But in that time I lost up to about a third of my hair. I had always had really, really thick hair, probably too thick, and suddenly I was losing clumps of hair every time. I was scared to wash my hair, I was scared to brush it. But hair loss happens for lots of different reasons, and the thing that makes it difficult is that the timeline for hair loss is really difficult because it doesn't necessarily happen at the same time as the cause. For example, with stress with me, it can happen up to 3 months later, and it makes it quite difficult to know what actually caused it. It's rarely one thing that causes hair loss, because usually there are multiple things feeding into it, and so it's important to try and work out what those are. Okay, so let's go through hair loss common causes one by one in no particular order. And remember, it can be more than one of these that is contributing to it. In fact, it often is. It tends to be what we call multifactorial. And some of these are perimenopause and menopause related or specific, but many of them are relevant all of the time. So it can happen any time in a woman's life. But I have to say that hair loss does tend to be more common for women who are going through perimenopause and menopause, but it's not necessarily just the stage of perimenopause, menopause that is causing it. So number one is around nutrition. And the first question I would ask you is, are you eating enough? Hair growth is a very, very demanding energy using process. And over time, if you're not eating enough and you've got other stuff going on, it can be problematic. So say stress is a big part of the picture and it's long-term chronic stress. Because the body will direct energy away from non-essential processes, hair growth is non-essential. You don't need hair. You can perfectly well survive without it. Not that you want to necessarily. And the body will direct the energy away from non-essentials towards essential survival mechanisms. For example, producing enough stress hormones. So that is one factor. Are you eating enough? And you know, that can be not necessarily the sole cause, but it certainly can be a big factor for a lot of women, especially if you're struggling to lose weight. Perhaps you've got underlying thyroid problems, which means that you may find it really difficult. What's the thing that women do? They start cutting their calories, and that can actually exacerbate the problem. Then we've got nutrients and nutrient-dense foods. So are you eating enough of the right foods to get all the nutrients that you need to get all the minerals and vitamins that are crucial for maintaining healthy hair? Minerals especially play a really crucial role in maintaining healthy hair growth, and deficiencies in certain minerals can contribute to hair problems, as well as excess minerals too. So which minerals are important for hair growth? Well, there's a few. First of all, iron is absolutely vital because it carries oxygen to the hair follicles. So iron deficiency anemia can lead to hair thinning and hair loss. Zinc is another one. You've probably heard that zinc plays a role in the growth and repair of your hair, your nails and your skin. And a deficiency can certainly contribute to hair loss and even hair thinning. And then there's something called biotin, which is essential for healthy hair. It's involved in the production of keratin, which is a key structural component of hair. Then you've got selenium, which is an antioxidant that helps to protect your hair follicles from damage. And then copper. Copper is a big one. Copper is necessary for the formation of melanin, the pigment responsible for hair colour. And a deficiency can not only contribute to premature greying, but also to thinning of the hair and hair loss. And magnesium. Magnesium, such a critical mineral for women going through perimenopause and menopause, contributes to the overall health of your hair follicles and the hair growth cycle. So, you've got all of these minerals that are so important. But which minerals can cause hair loss or hair thinning when there is too much of them, so excessive amounts? There are certain minerals which actually contribute to hair loss as well if we have too much. And they are the same ones that too little can also contribute to. So, for example, selenium, whilst it's essential, if it's taken in excessive amounts, it can lead to hair loss, although that is very rare. Zinc is the same, excessive amounts can lead to hair loss. So balance is key with both of these. We don't want too much and we don't want too little. And then copper, this is a really big one. I see this so much with my clients. Copper toxicity, not necessarily blatant copper toxicity. It can be hidden biounavailable copper toxicity, but copper toxicity can lead to hair thinning and hair loss as well. So that is a really big factor too. So if you struggle with hair loss or thinning hair, the only way to truly know if minerals are an issue is to test your mineral status, to see what it is and what your mineral ratios are. And from there, you can make the right dietary changes and supplement where necessary with exactly what you need as an individual. It's never a good idea to start supplementing with individual minerals unless you know what your mineral levels are and what your mineral status is. Because it can actually cause more problems. And that's why I love mineral testing, because it gives us so much information about so many aspects of your bodies, including our hair and what's going on with our hair. Okay, so number 2 is the thyroid. Now, if you have got suboptimal thyroid function, or you suspect you do, if you've been diagnosed by your GP, you might think that, okay, well, I'll take some thyroxine and then everything will be sorted. But if you have taken thyroxine because you've got suboptimal thyroid function, hypothyroidism, you may have discovered that perhaps your hair doesn't grow back. And in some cases, it can actually make the matters worse. You've got to look at the root cause of what is causing your thyroid issues. Just taking replacement thyroid hormone, whilst it can be helpful for some, isn't necessarily going to fix all of the symptoms of hypothyroidism. So with lack of natural thyroid hormone production, everything in the body slows down. So your, everything. If you think about thyroid hormone as being your main metabolism hormone, when there isn't enough of it, or when enough isn't getting into the cells and able to do its job properly, everything slows down, and that includes your hair growth, which is why hair thinning or hair loss can often happen with suboptimal thyroid function. And it's directly linked back to the question, are you eating enough? And are you getting the right nutrients? And have you got the right minerals in the right balances for your thyroid? Thyroid issues tend to cause hair thinning all over. So you might find that, it's not that you're losing it from any particular place. It tends to be all over, but it can often be focused around the front. So around the hairline, or kind of here on the sides along the temples. And remember this, hormonal fluctuations during perimenopause and menopause can worsen pre-existing thyroid conditions and thus speed up hair loss or make it worse. So if you feel like things have got worse since you hit perimenopause and menopause, but you're wondering, is it still to do with your thyroid? It could possibly be, it could well be. Okay, and then number 3 is stress. So this was my story, as I said, back in July, August 21, after losing my dad. Cortisol, our main stress hormone, directly blocks the conversion of thyroid hormone. And stress can also push hair follicles into what we call the resting, which is called telogen phase of growth, and it can happen prematurely, which means that it'll cause increased shedding and temporary hair thinning. But it can also shorten the growth phase, the anagen phase, which causes hair to then therefore grow more slowly. So you've got this double whammy. You can have part of your hair, going into the resting phase, and the hair that is in the growth phase slowing down and not doing its job properly. And so the result will be hair loss and a slowing of the replacement of new hair. Stress can also affect blood flow and nutrient delivery to the hair follicles, which are necessary for healthy hair growth. And whilst stress is a big one, it, generally speaking, is a temporary and reversible situation, as long as you have got over the stressor or the trauma. But remember, it can be multifactorial, so just relying on this is never a good idea. You can't just think, okay, well, I had a stressor and therefore everything's fine. You've got to look at everything else as well. Okay, so number 4, loss of estrogen. So of course, during perimenopause and menopause, estrogen levels decrease, and estrogen plays a crucial role in maintaining hair growth and thickness. So a decline in estrogen can lead to hair thinning all over. And this can be exacerbated if it coincides with an increase in androgens, particularly testosterone, which can lead to male pattern hair loss, which tends to happen at the crown of the head. So if you're losing hair kind of this area, then you really want to be looking at that, whether there is an issue with testosterone dominance, which can happen during perimenopause and menopause, where testosterone gets more dominant as we lose estrogen and progesterone. And then finally, number 5, there is aging, and it's important to remember that this is a natural process. As we age, hair naturally becomes thinner and more sparse as the growth cycle of a hair follicle shortens. So as we get older, we are likely to have less hair than we did when we are younger. Not everybody, but a lot of people, and it can be, of course, then compounded by hormonal changes. So to mitigate this as much as possible, it's really important to focus on the things that you are in control of. You're in control of your diet, you're in control of your nutrients, you're in control of even your mineral balance if you do it properly. You're in control of how much you eat. You're not in control of aging, none of us are, unfortunately, but you are in control of those things. You can also, to an extent, control your stress and how you manage stress and how you focus on relaxation or not. And then, of course, the basics, things like making sure that you're not smoking or vaping. The amount of chemicals and toxins that go into your body can be controlled to a degree. The amount of alcohol that you consume, whether you exercise or whether you don't, all of those things are going to have an impact because they play into stress and whether your body has the energy in the first place to actually focus on producing hair, or whether it needs to direct it away to other more essential processes. And then finally, it's really important to remember, not every woman will experience significant hair loss, and the severity and the causes do vary widely from person to person. So it's really important. It's very difficult with hair loss because we don't really know 100% what causes it. We have to use a process of elimination, think about what we're doing, where we might be affecting ourselves or what might be affecting us, and start from there, but always trying to look at what's the root cause, because there's always a reason as to why something like hair loss happens. Okay, I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, please do post them in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I can. Yeah, I will leave it there. Next week, it will be back to Thursday. So we will be doing Thursdays from now on. Hopefully my internet won't break. And we will be doing Thursdays 12:30 every week. And I will be letting you know what the next topic is early next week, ready for Thursday. All right. Have a great day. Take care. Bye for now.